Welcome to this episode of Algae Corner with me, Dr. West Bishop. Now, it's very important to understand algaecide label directions as they're set by the US EPA, and specifically the listed precautions they have to protect the aquatic ecosystem. Now, today we want to cover a specific component of that dealing with dissolved oxygen impacts, as that typically poses the largest concern towards non-target species with use of these registered products. All right, specifically again, we're going to review the sections of these algaecide labels, and we're going to hone in on the copper algaecide labels that deal with dissolved oxygen precautions with their use. So first, it's better to catch the algae early. Try to get them early in their growth stage before they don't achieve too much biomass or too high a density or form thick scums or mats over the entire water body. Trying to catch them early, we can control them at much lower amounts, and overall there's less biomass that could cause a dissolved oxygen seg after treatment. And we do have that label on our label, that guidance. Many times that's difficult to do though. Often you go to a site and it's already a mess. You have a thick bloom or a high density bloom already, and that's okay. We can still manage it, still go after it, but we need to follow those precautions on the label in those scenarios as well. So in those scenarios, the label mandates do not treat more than 1/2 of the water body. So the reason why we don't want to treat more than half the water volume at one time is so not too much algae dies all at the same time. Now this can cause a dissolved oxygen seg through the water column if we kill too much of it. So by only treating a portion of it, we allow there to be sufficient refugia for fish and other algae that didn't die, so we don't take all the oxygen out of the water column through this biological oxygen demand. So those bacteria in the water, degrade that organic matter, degrade that dead algae, and can use that oxygen out of the water column, and that could cause suffocation of your fish and invertebrates. So by just taking that piece of it, we can offset a lot of those risks with the dissolved oxygen depletion. Additionally, the label mandates wait 2 weeks between treatments, and that's to allow time for that algae that was dead to sort of equilibrate with the system, more dissolved oxygen to be innately put in the water before that next treatment, before we kill even more algae in that system so we don't have additional DO seg. So wait 2 weeks before subsequent treatment to that water body. Now, one more thing that's important to note is that the label just says half the water body. So don't treat more than half the water body at one time. Now, since water is a three-dimensional system, this means volume. Don't treat more than half the volume in a single application, not just surface area. This is important to note because sometimes the algae is built up on the surface and we need to target it just in those upper layers of the water column, or it's growing across the bottom, the benthic mats of algae. We can target it across the water body just in the lower water volumes, or certainly even at mid-depth. Sometimes it's built up on the thermocline. We see it a lot in these large, deep drinking water reservoirs just built up next to the intake and causing issues there. So this algaecide label gives us the flexibility to target those nuisance algae where they're at in the water column. So again, still don't treat more than half the water volume overall, but you can still target that where the algae, the nuisance algae, is at in the water column. So one last thing to note, you may say, hey, why do we even treat? Why do we even need to use an algaecide treatment out there if there's a risk of dissolved oxygen depletion after treatment? Well, think of it this way. Without treatment, you may still have those risks. If you allow that algae to continue to grow and reproduce, it could certainly just cover and smother the entire surface area and prevent dissolved oxygen from getting into the water by forming those mats and scums. And additionally, when that algae naturally dies or crashes on its own, it could cause a fish kill. So by treating strategically, by treating a portion of it at a time, we can chop it down and chop it down safely and actually be much less risk than not doing anything, allow it to grow, increase in biomass, organic matter, and that potential biological oxygen demand. And when that naturally dies and senesces anyway, it could cause a much worse fish kill than actually taking it in your own hands and managing. So in summary today, registered algaecides have labels that are written to preserve the use of the aquatic system, to protect the ecosystem, and minimize any hazards associated with the pesticide use. So a big component of stewardship of these products is following and acknowledging those labels, and specifically the dissolved oxygen dynamics that may occur following use of these products. So always read and follow the label directions, never treat more than half the water volume Always wait 2 weeks between treatment. Try to treat it early. Try to get it at the front end where there's not much biomass, not much risk of biological oxygen demand and that DO sag. Catch them early in the bloom so you don't have that, or just follow those precautions if you're a little bit late to the game. But again, always best to be environmental stewards of these solutions and go after, control those nuisance and toxic algae. So thank you for your time today. Please visit cpro.com to learn more, and we'll catch you next time on the Algae Corner.
If you have a problem with toxic or nuisance algae, CPRO can help you fix it. Give us a call, visit our website, or take a look at the rest of our videos for more information. Thanks for watching and subscribing to Algae Corner.